Much better. My name is Jennifer Brown here. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody and our guests to the Lady of the Brentwood. Today, our invocation will be led by Betsy Crossley and our pledge and four-way test by Alan Treadway. Betsy?
First, we have some sad news for our club. Former club member passed away last night. So I'm making a statement that they said, it's with deep sadness that I share the news of passing of Randy Bostic, assistant professor of kinesiology. Randy passed away Thursday night, January 15th. He was one of Lipscomb's most fans in sport analytics program, which launched in 2024, and also served as an adjunct professor in the College of Business for several years. Above all, we cherished investing in the lives of students and being part of the faculty. His love for Lipscomb began in 1993 when he came to the university as a student athlete playing basketball for the Bisons. After injury ended his playing career, he continued serving the team as student coach under head coach Ken Duggan. He graduated from Lipscomb with a Bachelor of Science degree in 1997. Beyond Lipscomb, Randy was the founder of Bostic Law PLLC and was deeply engaged in community. He served with the Ciudad de Angeles, the Old Timers Baseball and the club. And generously gave his time as a youth baseball, softball, and basketball coach. He was also a member of Brentwood Hills Church of Christ. On a personal note, Randy and I were undergraduate students at the same time. If you his heart for Lipscomb, his passion for baseball, and his deep love of his family. Randy is survived by his wife, Amanda, and their two children, Reed, a 10th grade student at Lipscomb Elementary Academy, and Kaylee, a 9th grade student at the Academy. Arrangements are incomplete at this time, and we will share additional details as they become available. Please join me in praying for the Bostic family, and that comes from Lipscomb University. So, also, we would be thanking today in our prayers for Harold Fogelberg and for Jeff Brown, who's in the hospital still trying to get to a rehab facility. So we're thinking about him. Would join me in prayer. Dear Lord, Father, I have heard these words countless times a day, sometimes uttered as an exasperated declaration, dear Lord, or other times offered as a plea or prayer, dear Lord. God, you know that these are pivotal times in our world. Help us to be ever mindful of these three truths. One, the future depends upon people coming together, uniting, not deciding to remain tribes who choose hate as a goal rather than to love. Two, you can do all things. You are not alone. And three, when we call your name, you always hear us. We ask you now, today, in this very moment, to help us find the profound wisdom to discover ways to choose peace, the peace and understanding that only you can bring to each of us. It is in your way.
Now you're joining in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance. And for the four-way test, first, second, third, stand for the
All right, and next up, Jennifer Shepard, our club secretary, will introduce guests and visiting Rotarians. Hi, everybody. Glad everyone's here today. Got some guests to introduce. Becca Fox, you were here last week. Thank you for coming again. And Andrew Hillis, where'd you go? There you are, Andrew Hillis is our first time visiting. And it turns out that that they know each other from high school. So if you want to give us the scoop later, we want to hear all the dirt on Stephen. And Rhonda Formby, there you are, over there, Rhonda Formby, who is possibly going to be in our membership pipeline here soon. We're excited about that. And also Christina Schmidt with Rhonda. Thank you so much for coming. That's it. Okay, I'd like to say we have a couple of announcements, but we have a few announcements today. There's a lot going on in our club, which is a thing is not that. No, that is that. We are having if you have heard from me struggling with the Facebook situation, we just decided to scratch it, start over. I tried to invite as many of you that are my personal friends onto this page, but if you want please go there. I think there was a QR code. Jared with the rest of his team, anything that's going on in our club, and he's giving me funny looks back in the back. But anyway, so I wanted to share the Facebook so that we can be able to connect, and then invite your friends, invite prospective Rogerians, invite has an interest in what's going on in our community. Next up, John from Graceworks is going to talk to us about a service opportunity tomorrow that we're sharing with you and kind of tee it up.
Thank you. So tomorrow morning, we have a opportunity to feed a lot of people. And so one of the things that Graceworks does is we look in Williamson County, but we go to the areas of Williamson County. Not everything, as you already know, this county and the state, it's not all like Franklin or Brentwood. But we go to Fairview. And so we look at Fairview Middle School tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. We'll have a tractor trailer literally full of food, which we'll set up into stations into the conveyance to volunteers. And so we bring 50 and 100 volunteers to pull this off. So I'm grateful that it's a great service day for us, but we're going to only start at 7. We will write nursery cards and put them into the cars of nephews that have lined up. And so we will have between 150 and 200 that will for a trunk load. But once again, we can't do it without the help of our volunteers. So I would hope that you would sign up and come join us tomorrow morning. We'll be through by 10 o'clock easily. Thank you.
Sign up for that. It's in reflections. And if you if you need help with that, let me know. I'm happy to help. Or if you're in a carpool as early as possible in the morning, let me know. Next, Susie, did you want to talk about the Dr. B training?
Sure. We've moved DFTV as our membership database.
Thank you. We moved to DFTV as a membership database. Some of you are like super into it and you know everything. I'm going to stay next week. I'm kind of talking through the website and talking through also our app. Hope that you feel more comfortable reaching out to other Rotarians. So if you want to come to this stay after we go next week, thinking about doing this, it might be top or tablet. So you can follow along. Thanks.
All right. More service opportunities, and it's every Saturday for the next couple of weeks. So we asked for ways to serve, and now we have plenty. So which is a great problem to have. January 24th, we are partnering clubs of Rotary to do a service project with Rise Against Hunger. So that was it's a commitment we've love for you guys to join us on that day as well. I'll share more information about that in reflections next week. Our service project the next Saturday is our project that Patrick is going to come up and talk to us about.
Jennifer, just sign up sheets are accessible for the next schedule for the first clock 8:15 at the library. Some of you have pretty signed up. I appreciate that. We've got some folks who have signed up to read sections, which is always helpful. This year, I try to have a section leader training session on the Zoom. We're trying to 2 scout leaders to reach out. So, any other section, I'd love to be Zoom. So, versus median from screen people for some from the section. So that is a little more. If you have any questions, please email. We can help you sign up. I've had a few of you guys to sign up for the check-in process, which I'm hoping cautiously optimistic that will be less chaotic this year. But it has been in the past with the ability to sign up online. If you have any questions, please reach out. Looking forward to it right now. But it's looking great. So that's for that. Thank you.
All right. And don't forget, if weather does catch us that day, the next week is our backup. So last service opportunity, the next day on after February 1st, High Hope has asked us to partner with them on a service opportunity. I'll be sharing the reflections as well. The last thing that I want to say before I back off of the podium is, do you guys remember what our club assembly stands for? And Shepherd and Wayne to speak. Nobody does. Okay. So if you recall, and I'm just sharing this with you because I'm going to tell you a few times over the next couple of months, we have 3 Jennifers presidents in a row. Born and Shepherd, BRS. So it also stands for Brentwood Serves. So easy to remember. So when you're thinking about the Jennifers, that is how the order of because we're all blonde, we're all Jennifer, and we're all doers. So easy to get us confused. For now, that is for now. But next year, it Morris. Just kidding. Okay, next up, we're gonna have Randy Lee. Do you have that? So who's happy?
Everybody, if there's $1 in here, I'd probably put it in my pocket because I'm unhappy. I know as youthful as I look, you probably can't imagine I have gout. But I woke up this morning, my gout kicked in, so it feels like someone's driving a nail in my big toe. So when I've seen Happy Bucks in the past, I've seen the person dash back rapidly across the room. Not happening today. So I'm going to make a sweep across the room. So decide if you're happy, because if I get to there and you get happy, you're chasing me down. Okay. So the happy wave is moving. Who's happy? There you go, Jennifer.
So I took the basket. All I have is Canadian money. Canadian money, but sorry, Jason, wherever Jason is. I just want to say thank you for donating during the foundation drive. It's a little bit of a moving target how much we need for the BRCCF. And it's kind of hard to calculate the Rotary Foundation at this point because many of our members, some of them go through us, some of us pay direct. We're probably closer to 45 with the Rotary Foundation. So making sure that the Rotary Foundation gets their part of your donation for the drive. So thank you for being so generous, and the support you give us supports all of the great things that we're throughout the year. So thank you.
Thank you. As a financial guy, if you're going to donate in foreign currency, I'd like to see a stronger currency than Canadian. Keep moving through it. Anyone else?
$4 here. I know it's all I have. All I have in my wallet. Which is a miracle that's even there. I took a real photo work yesterday. I called Paula to chat with her, and subsequently they put me on speakerphone, and I got to speak with Harold. And he's doing really well. He's in great spirits. So thinking about him, it was really a sweet person. It was a really sweet treat to get to speak with him yesterday. So I'm happy that he's doing fine and that we got to talk.
All right, Gil. Come your way. Here's $5. Like to move right with your pain. I've had it before. Well, thank you so much. Bob, I'll come out to you with the plan. Okay. I'm very thankful that the entire process of sending out these emails to tell everybody they're coming is over, because I said, I'll let you guys do math, okay? I sent 3 of them out to all of you guys, and so for 10 cents for each one of those emails, there you go. Wow, very generous. Thank you, Bob. I'll come around here.
I'm going to dial into this, but I send that last week.
And a dollar of happiness to Alan for finally getting his annual prediction as close as we've ever gotten it for Ole Miss making it to the national championship.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Alan has a rebuttal.
$4 for Tim, he's getting his dollar out. But hey, not speaking of Ole Miss,
There you go.
what about those Vanderbilt women Commodores? Undefeated. They should be #1 in the country. So, and the men lost they're 18-1. So Vanderbilt basketball is 35-1 overall, women and men. Same either. Last call. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Randy. All right, now we're going to go into our program. Drew Rogers brought our speaker today, and he's going to come up and introduce her.
We're going to go right there now. Yeah. Okay. Hot. Before I get started and invite Lindsey up here to the stools, I thought it might be helpful to do a couple of things. I want to introduce Lindsey's colleague, Keith Gallagher. It's also from Best of Ours. I agree with Jennifer S. and S. I'll introduce him. So works for the Nashville Soccer Club. He was sales. So to the extent that you have interest in collegiate experience, willing to watch Nashville SC swings, that sort of thing, he's your guy. And he's going to be exciting for us to come from Nashville SC, in the coming months. I want to talk to him, so I encourage you to get to meet him. This is from the Nashville SC. That's my take for us. All the speaking is to one of our stores because there was this way I'm introducing Lindsey. Because the bank wants for because she's some between because to everything. And so for you guys, is that this can the kid for the stories. Lindsey for that as well. And so that's going to keep that for 15 to 20 minutes. It is 25. I believe 15 minutes of this, 15 to 20 minutes will be ineffective. And so I was going to ring Mike and encourage you guys to ask questions that you might have about some of the review talks about some background and experience prior to Nashville SC, but also what's happening in the world of soccer. So I'm going to most argument to Lindsey Paola, the chief business officer of Nashville SC, and 30 class, 39th leadership Nashville class. Aspiring to graduate in May of 2026. Nothing happens between now and then to be definitely. Rick was chief executive of the soccer club, oversees daily operations for both Nashville SC, our Major League Soccer franchise, and Huntsville City FC, versus MLS Next, their affiliate team. He joins executives for Major League Soccer clubs in the role of chief business officer, responsible control and includes the team's operations, finance, human resources, IT, and events businesses. It is also distinguished as the longest serving employee at Nashville SC. At corporate time for soccer in America, she also leads the strategic development of the club as the recent welcomed 2025 FIFA Club Cup. In the country where we also host the 2026 FIFA World Cup later this year. She's also going to welcome the U.S. Women's National Team official to speak about it some today. March for a Sheep Leagues Cup match. First, she joined Nashville SC in 2017. She built an impressive career service and government. She began a career in public service during the Bush-Cheney administration, where she initially worked presidential campaign and inaugural committee, before serving in secondary in the White House, including the office of vice presidential advance in the White House counsel's office. She worked with organizations such as the U.S. Department of State, Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, and Douglas, gained experience in leadership, operations, logistics, and complex organizations. Nashville SC is presiding over the club's growth into the Nashville Community Center. All be proud of our Major League Sports franchises. She holds a bachelor's degree in clinical communication from the George Washington University and a master's degree in general psychology from the Catholic University of America. While we both take our seats, I hope you can join me in welcoming Lindsey Paola. Right. So, Lindsey, thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you.
Let's hope I don't mess this up too badly. I'm off to a great start. I mentioned as we were going through your introduction, some of the things that you did prior to your team at Nashville SC. I think our members might like to know more about your time in the White House and some of the roles that you held in the Bush-Cheney administration. Can you tell us more about who you worked for, what you did, and what your experience was like the first time you lived in the White House?
Sure. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, long back then, and when Drew and I were talking about this, I said that when we're, I guess I was 21, you don't really appreciate the very cool things you're doing. I was in Washington, D.C. It was my second week of my freshman year. And obviously the world changed. For my family, it changed dramatically. I grew up in the Northeast, so everybody knew somebody who passed away in the towers. My older brother joined the military, has been for 21 years, Special Forces, because of 9/11. So my family and that's politics. And at that time, you kind of went foreign service or you went into politics or lobbying, I guess. And I interned every semester that I was in Washington, D.C. And the first internship was on Capitol Hill when the anthrax scandal happened. And the mail would come to us and you could literally break it in half because it had so much of the chemicals that they were using to kind of decontaminate the mail. And we all got really sick from that. So when I joined the Bush-Cheney campaign, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And there weren't very many interns. I started in 2003, and then by the time 2004 rolled around, there were tons of interns, but I had kind of built my reputation there, and so I was fortunate enough. I was getting ready to graduate early, so I graduated early from George Washington and got a full-time job on the campaign, and then obviously the administration very kind, and they kind of had a must hire, should hire, don't hire list for people, and so I was working Cheney Friends and Family department, if you will. So we got to be with the friends and family of the first family and kind of guide them through the inaugural. And then I was able to get an interview with the Vice President's advance office and didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but it was a lot of fun. We got to travel to Tom things these days, all the stuff that you get to Secret Service, the folks who are doing policy. I was just 21 or 22, so I was simply doing logistics and, working on the schedules of where the vice president and Mrs. Chief go and seeing all different places, and it was very cool. And then I got bored. I don't really know how that's possible, but I got bored, and somebody was as an executive assistant in the West Wing of the White House, and he doesn't want to work in the West Wing, so I got to be an executive assistant, have a desk in the West Wing, which is small, so desk in the West Wing. Interesting time to be in the White House counsel's office. The midterm elections hadn't gone well, so there was a lot of pressure from the Senate and the House. A lot of things that came up. The Supreme Court nominations had just finished, and my boss at the time, Harriet Miers, who was a name that some of you might know, had withdrawn from the Supreme Court nomination. So it was just a very interesting time to be in the White House counsel's office. But it was very cool to be in the West Wing, and for a variety of stories, I left and then went into different agencies. So I went to DOD at Walter Reed and then the State Department. I remember the original question.
I think one of the most impressive things is you graduated from George Washington. I did not graduate early from college, but
I'm not surprised, and neither will anyone here be surprised that I'm not graduating. So logistics of the vice president, that sounds complicated. We've traveled extensively with Vice President Cheney, and I'm curious to hear you tell us what he was like, and we had interesting stories from that experience.
I will say, and I said this to Tom, the vice president, we called him the boss. The boss was funny. He had a very serious reputation in the media, and as we were discussing, is we didn't really like him. And this is something I admired in him. He didn't care what they thought, and I thought that was an admirable trait to have. It was actually very funny. He was very family oriented. They had 2 kids and then lots of grandkids. They were called Kegper. That was how we remembered the grandkids: Kate, Elizabeth, Grace, Philip, and Richard. But he was funny, and I will say that the president too is also, and this I think did come out through the media, was a jokester. President Bush was very funny and maybe not so well received in the media either. So they were fun to work with. I was trying to think of stories, and I know there are stories. I just can't remember them. It was so long ago. I was with a friend for coffee before this, and she's like, "What about the time that he got shot?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, there was that." Or if he shot somebody, I should say. That was interesting. I was sitting in my living room, and my boss calls me. He's like, "Oh, the boss shot somebody." I was like, "Okay." So that was interesting. Yeah, so we knew before the world that happened, but it was just, there were so many fun things, and I do wish I could go back and do it all over again, so that I would really appreciate what we got to do.
Very cool. Thank you for that. You mentioned during your response to the first question that White House, following the Bush administration, and entered the private sector, but then we came back to Washington with the State Department in 2010. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, what changed from the point at which you left and to the point at which you came back, and what was it like to leave and come back to DC?
So I left the White House. I had a boss who was not a very good person when I worked in the White House and is subsequently in jail. That's a whole different story I can share offline. So it left. And it kind of just, so I went into the private sector briefly and then got involved in a project because I do have such a passion for the military community. Project that was being built at Walter Reed. It was for service members with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Foundation. They were building this facility. Private dollars were building it to the government. So I got involved as a contractor on that, as a government employee on this project for a couple of years before I went to the State Department. So I did I was just having a crisis of what is it I want to do, which I'm sure many of you have also gone through. So I left to the Department of State, and the thing on the Department of State, and Tom, I keep referencing this, but you know this, in the White House and travel overseas, obviously very heavily with the folks at the Department of State. And they've got a whole kind of section that works on the travel logistics, protocol, all of that. So we worked very closely in the White House with this office. And if you're in the White House in DC, you're kind of like the top, right? You know, there's a very, everybody, they always say, "Oh, my name is so-and-so." And the next question is, "Where do you work?" When you're at the White House, you're the coolest. And so you could be a little bit arrogant with the way you work with other agencies. Fortunately, I wasn't, because when I moved to the State Department, I was on the other side. So I was working with the White House. And so it's a very small DC. You've got to be very careful not to burn bridges. And I think some people follow that and end up having problems.
Sure. So moving on to soccer.
Yes.
You were a second in government, then got into the sports world. So initially, your way in 2017 was senior director of administration for Nashville SC, and I believe it was just before Mr. Ingram got involved in the club. Curious to know, coming from introduced to Nashville Soccer Club and the sports.
Yeah, I went as you mentioned briefly. Well, I guess it wasn't brief, it was 3 years. I kind of see because to close that chapter and do something else. And so to go work for a mentor, and it was nice for me. And so I was really spending the time thinking about what I wanted to do. And I come from a family of public servants. So some of my brothers in the military, my mom and my teachers. My dad was a state police officer. So public service was my very to go back to DC. And I was looking at sports because I think you can do a lot of things, and especially in soccer, it's the global game. And so, long story short, I got connected to somebody in soccer in the headquarters office in New York City who eventually became the CEO of the minor league team. So he moved down to Nashville to take that role. So that's how I came to Nashville. And then John got involved. John Ingram. There was a more kind person than John Ingram. I don't know if he knows him, but he's a wonderful human being. The family has done a lot for Nashville, and his for starting or getting involved with Nashville Soccer Club is he wanted to do something in Nashville, with Nashville, for Nashville. That was very important to him, and it was a legacy for the city of Nashville. And so I got involved with soccer, and then I was fortunate enough that when the Major League Soccer was announced in 2017, much to everybody's shock, because we did, that I moved into the Major League Soccer role and started as the chief of staff there.
So there was a lot that happened in those first few years. Specifically, what you just said, we've had the USL franchise that very quickly became an MLS franchise. There was a number of things that happened soon thereafter. Can you talk about what those first few years were like after John Ingram?
They expected it. I mean, it's a shock. And then I had to get a stadium site, which was complicated. But at the time, Mayor Barry had picked out a site for us. It was going to be on the fairgrounds. And then the stadium had to get approved, but Mayor Barry left office and the fair came in, and there were some challenges with that. And so we finally got the stadium. We kicked the first game was February 29th, 2020. So it's a great year to start a professional sports franchise. A few days later, the tornado happens. We've got staff and players whose apartments are decimated, and we have to deal with that. And then COVID comes. And that was just, it gives me chills thinking about it, because that was what a challenge for everybody on so many fronts. But we entered this tournament in, I think it was the summer of 2020 that Major League Soccer has set. It's the MLS is Back tournament, very secure in a bubble in Florida. Our team gets down to Florida and they've got COVID. And so we've got a team that has been put in hotel rooms. It's not allowed to go in hotel rooms. And it was just an epic disaster. So it was that start to season. Thankfully, we played well in 2020 for the games that we did end up playing. And then 2021, and our season was going well in the stadium. And we finally got to open our brand new stadium in 2022, which if you haven't been out to Geodis Park, he can help you get out to Geodis Park. It's beautiful, unbiased. It's the largest soccer specific stadium in the United States and Canada. And they're seat in the house. But 2022, in Nashville, and then we added a training facility out in Antioch at Vanderbilt. We call it Vanderbilt Health Training Center. So by 2020, felt like we were finally in a steady state. There's a lot going on between 2017 and 2023.
So tell me more about your role as the Chief Business Officer of Nashville SC. What does that mean in Major League Soccer?
Every soccer organization is set up differently. So when folks ask me, I'm like, that's the caveat, right? They're all different. The way we're set up now, it's so different to this role that we're split into. So we've got what we call a front office, which is what I run on the soccer side. The soccer side is run by our soccer operations. So he is responsible for everything. Stuff we see in the field, our academy, all of that. My job is everything else. So ticketing, partnerships, legal, HR, IT, finance, marketing, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something else, all of that stuff. And that's how we're split. Chief Business Officer role in soccer is I prior to joining soccer, but really is the business side of the club. And that's what my role is.
Well, thank you for that. Just last week, we had some news announced about the women's national team coming to Nashville. So, and I'm sure I can have to Center Slum. So this first at Judas, the national team of the Argentina, Nashville Cup match. What can you tell us about that, and how can you purchase tickets?
It's a big deal. It's always a big deal. To Nashville, they've been to Nashville 6 times. This will be their 3rd time at Geodis Park. Every time we host one of the national team matches, it's a huge hit. It's awesome to see. This is a doubleheader. There's a game before us, and then we're playing Argentina. The reason that this year to me is so important is that there was a joint bid with Nissan Stadium. So Nissan Stadium and Geodis Park have a bid in for the 2031 Cup. The United States, Canada, Mexico, and Jamaica are all hosting the 2031 Women's World Cup, and there's 14 U.S. cities vying for a spot. And so we didn't get the Men's World Cup this year. Nashville is obviously not hosting it. It's a World Cup. Nashville does have a bid, and I think we're a strong bid. So this match on March 1st being sold out, or successful, all of that is really important for this bid that we have in 2031.
I would like to meet Alex more, and my wife would like to meet Cristiano Ronaldo. Can you make that happen?
Sure. You know, she doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't really matter.
Done.
Good, thank you.
You didn't say the N word. You know who that is. You don't say that name.
So you mentioned that we, as a city, had submitted a bid for the World Cup in 2026. We're aware that Nashville was not selected, unfortunately, but we're dealing that the World Cup is coming to the United States. And so, question for you is, what can we expect to see out of that experience in Nashville, and how will Nashville Soccer Club be involved to participate in the World Cup that's happening in this country?
Lots of covering. So the season currently, it's about to change next year, but currently Major League Soccer runs from the end of February, so we're February 21st through there, February 21st to mid-December. When this World Cup coming to the United States, there's a break, and our city will go dark for Major League Soccer. So we're actually going to bring down and host a series of concerts. We announced Forrest Frank the other day, and that's sold out in a few days. Got some other concerts we're going to announce, but we're also going to host World Cup watch parties, and it's very hard to get FIFA to let folks broadcast the game just because of the broadcast rights. FIFA has actually sanctioned the World Cup watch parties. So we've got a North Plaza where we'll host World Cup watch parties for the men's national team, potentially some other federations, but primarily for the men's national team. So we're really going to embrace this break. It's the summer of soccer. It's our soccer celebrations. So between concerts and community events and World Cup watch parties, we're really coming into this period of time because it's pivotal for Major League Soccer and the of soccer in the United States. Happened in 1994 after the World Cup was last year in the United States. We also will hopefully be able to announce some exciting news about the city of Nashville being involved with the World Cup, maybe not obviously as a host city, but in other ways. And so we should hopefully announce that by the end of the month.
So I did not prepare you for this question, but as someone that's in logistics, I'm curious to know the impact of the World Cup, given that soccer is such a global sport on the community. Because in our conversation, you said that there could be pros and cons to actually receiving it as in a city like Nashville. What's the impact in terms of tourism and people that come here?
So I think if you asked some of the cities that are currently hosting the World Cup, I'd say they're opening up because the tourism dollars are a real thing. The challenges with the requirements for hosting a World Cup are intense. Your city has to basically go dark on all advertising. It has to be FIFA approved. It's logistically, it's a very big endeavor. So for some of these big cities that are hosting, Seattle, LA, not so much, but I think some of these smaller communities, which would be like St. Louis, they're struggling a little bit. It's hard. It really is. I mean, and so has to go through this process just to meet the FIFA requirements. FIFA's fun to work with, but it's a lot.
Shift and put Lindsey in the hot seat. I'm going to start walking around. So for people that have questions, you can raise your hand and I will come to you for any questions that you have. But Lindsey, you mentioned some changes coming to MLS season in 2026, and I would ask you to share some of what's happening with the schedule changes.
So Major League Soccer announced a very large change that's coming in 2027. I'm a visual person, so it's to understand what I'm saying without seeing it. But next year, season from February to May, next year we have 15 matches. It's 17 away, but this is 14 total matches, 7 home, 7 away. And that's February to May. And they'll crown an MLS Cup champion, and that's that. Starting in July of 2027, this new calendar is kicking in. So from July of 2027 to of 2028, that would be the new calendar for Major League Soccer. So it's actually going to cross over a year. And the reason that Major League Soccer made this change is that there's a lot of player transfers that happen. So one player goes from one team to another. And it's really hard to do that right now because our calendar does not align with the calendar, national calendar. So all these big teams out there sell players, but sell their players to Major League Soccer because it's ended and ours is still going on. And it's too challenging. So that's a big reason to align our schedule with this international calendar. So it's a really big deal on the sporting side because the other piece that happens when we're playing our regular matches, everybody else in the world is on a break potentially. They call it the international break, and our players are still playing. So we use players to these international breaks where they play for their home country. So it's very challenging to not be aligned. This puts the world of soccer all in one calendar. It's helpful too from a business perspective because now we have this big thick summer break and we can do concerts and tend to like to do concerts when they can do back to back to back. So with the summer break, we can do concerts in a series of weekends or whatever it might be. Hope that made sense. It's kind of clear as mud, but it is actually a good thing for Major League Soccer. Some of the northern teams are struggling because they'll play soccer in some cold months. If for the most part, 90% of the calendar fits in the current calendar. 90% of the new calendar fits within the current calendar.
So my question is regarding the Speedway, the racetrack, and the negotiations with Bristol, and how Nashville FC sees the racetrack, and how if there's any future partnership with that, or pros and cons with it being built, or y'all so for or against? How's that? Any thoughts?
John Ingram has come out and made it very clear he's not against racing. It's just that, we have a 30,000 seat venue, and I think they're about the same. And so that would be very challenging for that site to schedule logistics. Turned down a concert this year because there's a race. So I think in perspective, to him, he's very concerned, but it's not him being against racing. Right now, we work with the current setup. There's the campus fairgrounds includes the expo center, the racetrack, and us. And so we all three together, but it doesn't always work out perfectly. As I mentioned, a concert this year because of a race. So I'm sure there's more coming right now, but that's what John has, made it clear to the public.
I'm going to address just a little bit about your White House days. You mentioned Vice President Cheney, and you mentioned Amtrak's. And I was wondering, by chance, did you ever run into a fellow by the name of Dr. Tom Mayer?
I don't think so.
Thank you very much.
Now I want to know why.
Mascot, right?
I do know that actually. I know the story. Yeah, Tempo's our mascot. Do you know why?
I think we should have him.
This a week ago. So we haven't even started our season, but I love the idea.
Okay, so if you like Tempo the Coyote, or what was the other mascot considerations?
Oh gosh, this was a conversation we had a long time ago. The reason we went with Tempo the Coyote is that in 2021, maybe, I can't remember what year it was, there was a coyote in the Music City Center bathroom. I don't know how that got in there, but there was a coyote in the Music City Center bathroom, and I was actually one of the police officers that was involved in the Christmas Day bombing a few years later, or a year later, I guess. Found the coyote and got the coyote out of the bathroom. And that's how we came up with Tempo the Coyote. But I don't remember what else was in the running.
So you're in the unique position of seeing the political side from your career and then the sports side. And I think the big thing this year is going to be affordability, has been for a couple of years. The Atlanta Falcons came out, built a brand new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they really promoted heavily about affordability for families. Dodgers, I don't remember if it's left pavilion or right pavilion. $25 kind of all you can eat. With you having the business side of the sports franchise, how do you kind of think of affordability and trying to ensure that it's still accessible for a lot of the families in the area?
Great question. So that is something that all the time. This is the first time we're going to debut extensive as Arthur Blank's Mercedes-Benz menu, but for our season ticket members, we'll have $4 value items, and that's shows, pretzels, and hot dogs that season ticket members will be able to access, like I said, for $4. And we're also discounting season ticket member parking by, I think, about $3. But in general, our tickets, and he can confirm this for me, are the cheapest of the 3 professional sports teams in Nashville. So we actually do, and I'm not just saying this, I really hear this. We do hear a lot about how it is families and it's a very family-friendly environment. So those are the 2 things I hear all the time. And it's nothing against the Preds or the Titans because we're very close with them as well. But it's what we do here.
Yeah. Help me out here. We won a trophy, like did we win some championship? But my son, I was like, yeah, I'm celebrating. He was like, Dad, that's not the MLS.
So
Can you explain all that?
yeah, one of the challenges I think Major League Soccer has is they change things a lot, and soccer in the United States changes. The first championship trophy in the state of Tennessee, it was the Open Cup trophy, and the Hunt Eagles Open Cup is the oldest soccer tournament I think. So that tournament pits amateur teams and professional teams against one another, and it starts out the amateur level and goes up. And so we played in the MLS team. Have an amateur team. That's the trophy we didn't win, and soon I'm sure win an MLS Cup trophy. We also, not to confuse it, but Leagues Cup, which is a tournament as of 2023, the Leagues Cup final against a man named Lionel Messi in Miami. It was a wild game. Who was there? To penalty kicks, us. So the first trophy celebration at Geo's Park was actually not us. It was in Miami. There's no link between Nashville Soccer Club and Miami. Played there all the time.
So thank you for making time today. Love your talk. Question: can you put it in perspective? How big deal is the World Cup? I think a lot of us don't understand. I think like final is 15 times bigger in viewership than football is or something like that. And the second question, can we still buy the tickets for the games?
I'm going to start with the easy question first because he can help with, and I should have mentioned this earlier, we are selling World Cup tickets. They are actually to get. And so for that, yes, you're right. The World Cup is massive. I think the that in 1994 the World Cup was last year, and the soccer's not as big here in the United States as it is, of course, over in other countries. And the World Cup happened in 1994. Major League Soccer started, and it really was from the that came out of that World Cup. And so Major League Soccer is investing a lot of money and time into promoting the game of soccer pre-World Cup, during the World Cup, and post-World Cup. There was a big anticipation for how much that would grow the game of soccer in the United States. Does that answer your question?
Hi, Lindsay. Christina Schmidt. My husband and I love Captain's Club. It's just a great venue and spot to have season tickets. But my question is about FIFA's bid the next time around. I know I think I read that we lost the bid probably because of the old Nissan Stadium. Since our new stadium is being built, are there any other challenges that they're looking at for us to overcome? I know that our public officials and our tourism board were actively involved, and I feel like they fight for things when they want them. And so are there other logistical challenges that we're trying to overcome for the next bid?
Actually, don't signed for obviously advance. So I don't think this opportunity exists for the United States to bid. Challenge Nissan Stadium is that they have turf, and World Cup teams do not play on turf, so they have to bring in sod. In Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is turf. We're bringing in sod. It's like a $300,000 endeavor. And I don't see a scenario like the Titans and the Preds, and I don't see a scenario the next time that the United States can host. It's really a challenge that they'd have to do. So, and for example, if Nissan Stadium gets it in Jerry's Park, they'll have to bring in that sod. There are matches where their capacity, which is I think going to be close to 69,000, somewhere around there. Some smaller than ours, which is 30,000. So some matches will be good for their venue, some matches are better for our venue. And there's a lot of other exciting things that I can't talk about that are coming up. We'll be sharing those in the coming months, I think. So we and the city work together very closely. Dina Ivey, who runs the CDC, on promoting and putting out this bid. We've also got a bid
up, which is also in 2031, and that is another joint bid with Nissan Stadium. So they work really hard on pushing out bids for these big events.
So Lindsay, this is going to be the last question that we've got for today. This is actually a fun for you. Thank you for all. Soccer and the Nashville Soccer Club. As someone who was sat in the front row, who sat in the box, who sat in the highest seat behind the goal, who sat many places around the stadium. It's quite an experience, and it does not matter where you sit, and the stadium is gorgeous. The best part is a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, a 4-year-old grandson. They absolutely love it. So, if you're not been to a soccer game, grab some tickets when they're available, or sold out. And those soccer games are fun. And they also do some things.
Saying that, it means a lot to hear that. We're hard on creating a good experience for our fans, and I'm obviously biased. I think we're the best stadium and not a bad seat in the house. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for coming. Something we like to do with our speakers, don't go too far, but you can come back over here. This is a gift from us. Oh, thank you. We also read to elementary kids as part of our servicing here in the community. So if you find this, we would love to share with them about your time with us today. Thank you. Okay. Because they're sold out. Nashville Rotary knows too, so that's an easy way to go and kind of sneak in. It's like $50, but you got it. It's a great experience to just see the stadium from that perspective as well. All right, so thank you to our guests, Lindsey, Heath. I really want to talk with you about tickets after this. Becca, Andrew, Rhonda, and Christina. Thanks for coming today and being a part of our meeting, and we hope you come back next week. You guys have been here in the room a couple of years. Dean Wagner, he spoke about 5 years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. He spoke to our club. He owns Authentic Real America. He's going to come and talk to us about some things that they're doing to celebrate I know y'all know it's maybe 250 years of the United States of America is this year. And so we're teeing up some stuff to share. And this is kind of our tee off for that. So be here next week to hear Dean Wagner. For the members in the table, stacks of 8, not against the wall. All right, and BRS. I'm going to keep going. I can remind you guys that. All right.